Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Meridian, watching the stars drift past the main view screen. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, heading toward a region where no human had ever been before. The mission was simple in theory, but dangerous in practice. Find ancient alien ruins and learn what they could teach humanity about the galaxy. Jake was a career military officer who had spent 15 years working his way up through the ranks. He had short brown hair that was starting to show gray, the temples and tired blue eyes that had seen too many long missions. At 42, he was old enough to command respect, but young enough to handle the physical demands of deep space exploration. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual on the long-range sensors," called Lieutenant Sam Davis from the communications station. Sam was a thin young man with quick fingers and an even quicker mind. He had joined the crew straight out of the academy 2 years ago and had proven himself to be one of the best communications specialists in the fleet. Jake moved over to look at Sam's display screen. The readings showed a large metallic object floating in space about 6 hours away at their current speed. It was roughly the size of a small moon, but clearly artificial based on its perfect geometric shape. "What do you think it is?" Jake asked. "Hard to say from this distance, sir. But the metal composition doesn't match anything in our databases. Whatever built this thing used materials we've never seen before." Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her research station near the back of the bridge. She was the ship's xenobiologist. An archaeologist, a woman in her late 30s with long red hair tied back in a practical ponytail. Her green eyes sparkled with excitement whenever they discovered something new, which was exactly what Jake saw in them now. "Captain, if I'm reading these scans correctly, that structure could be millions of years old," Lisa said, walking over to join them. "The energy signatures are completely different from anything we've encountered before. This could be the breakthrough we've been looking for." Jake nodded slowly. The mission had been authorized by Earth's government specifically to find traces of ancient civilizations. Humanity had only been traveling between the stars for about 50 years. And in that time, they had met several other species. But all of those species were relatively young compared to some of the ruins that had been discovered in various parts of the galaxy. There were stories passed down through the galactic community of an ancient race called the Eternals. They had supposedly existed millions of years ago, long before any of the current civilizations had developed space travel. Most people treated these stories like myths, but a few scientists believed the Eternals had been real. "Set course for that structure," Jake ordered. "But keep our shields up and weapons ready. We don't know what we're dealing with." The next few hours passed slowly as the Meridian approached the ancient way station. As they got closer, the structure became even more impressive. It was shaped like a massive ring, easily 5 kilometers across, with strange symbols carved into its surface. The metal it was made from had a dark blue color that seemed to shift and change as the light hit it from different angles. "Some kind of energy field around the structure," reported Chief Engineer Pete Collins from his station. Pete was a stocky man with graying hair and hands that were permanently stained with engine grease. He had been working on starships longer than anyone else on the crew and knew more about alien technology than most university professors. "Is it dangerous?" Jake asked. "I don't think so. It seems more like a scanning field than a weapon. Almost. Like it's trying to figure out who we are." Lisa was practically bouncing with excitement as she studied the readings from her instruments. "Captain, the construction methods used on this station are far beyond anything the current galactic civilizations could create. The precision of the metalwork, the energy distribution systems, even the way it's positioned in space. This has to be eternal technology." Jake felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. If this really was an eternal structure, it would be one of the most important archaeological discoveries in human history, but it also meant they were dealing with technology that was far more advanced than anything humanity possessed. "Can we dock with it?" he asked Pete. "There appears to be a docking port on the inner ring. The design is different from our standard connections, but I think I can make it work." "Do it." The docking process took nearly an hour as Pete carefully maneuvered the Meridian into position. The ancient docking clamps engaged with a series of metallic clicks that echoed through the ship's hull. Jake felt a slight vibration as the two vessels connected. Atmosphere on the other side reads as breathable, Sam reported. Oxygen and nitrogen mix, similar to Earth normal. Temperature is a bit cool, but within acceptable ranges. Jake turned to address his away team. Besides himself, the group included Lisa, Sam, and 2 security officers. Sergeant Mike Turner and Corporal Jenny Walsh. Mike was a big man with dark skin and careful eyes, who had served in 3 different military conflicts before joining the Exploration Corps. Jenny was smaller, but just as tough. With blonde hair cut short and a no-nonsense attitude that had earned her respect throughout the fleet. "Remember, we don't know what we're going to find over there," Jake told them as they gathered in the airlock. "Stay alert, stay together, and don't touch anything unless Dr. Parker says it's safe." They cycled through the airlock and stepped onto the ancient station. The interior was dark, except for a soft blue glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The corridors were wide and tall, clearly built for beings that were larger than humans. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly in patterns that seemed almost alive. The artificial gravity is still working after all this time, Lisa marveled as they walked deeper into the station. Power systems must be incredibly advanced to still be functioning. They made their way toward what appeared to be the station's central hub, a large circular room with walls covered in displays and control panels. As they entered the room, the displays suddenly came to life, filling with moving images and scrolling text and the same strange symbols they had seen throughout the station. "Sam, are you getting any of this?" Jake asked. Sam had his portable communication equipment out and was trying to make sense of the alien data streams. "Some of the mathematical concepts are universal, Captain. I think I can start working on a basic translation program." Lisa was examining the displays with fascination. "Look at this. These appear to be star charts, but they cover a much larger area than any of our current maps. And see this pattern here? It looks like navigation routes, but they seem to deliberately avoid certain systems." She pointed to one section of the display where the navigation routes formed a clear curve around a particular cluster of stars. The path was so obvious that it had to be intentional. "Why would they avoid those systems?" Mike asked. "I don't know, but look at this," Lisa said, adjusting the display controls. "If I'm reading this correctly, that cluster of stars includes Sol, our solar system." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The ancient Eternals, with all their advanced technology and millions of years of experience, had deliberately avoided Earth's solar system, not just once, but consistently, according to the navigation data they were seeing. "Keep working on that translation, Sam," Jake said quietly. "I think we need to understand exactly what the Eternals were afraid." "Oof." Sam Davis worked through the night, his fingers flying across his portable computer as he tried to decode the ancient Eternal language. The symbols were unlike anything in the galactic database, but slowly patterns began to emerge. Mathematical concepts were the same everywhere in the universe, and Sam used those as his starting point. "Captain, I think I've got something," Sam called out as Jake entered the central hub the next morning. The rest of the away team had taken shifts sleeping in the ship, but Sam had refused to leave his work. Jake looked at the translation software Sam had created. Rough English words were starting to appear next to the alien symbols on the displays. Most of it was still unclear, but some phrases were becoming readable. "Warning systems," Jake read aloud. "Forbidden zone. Guardians active." "What does this mean?" Lisa had been studying the star charts all night as well. She pointed to the display showing the routes around Earth's solar system. "Captain, I've been analyzing the navigation data more carefully. The Eternals didn't just avoid our system once or twice. They avoided it for their entire recorded history. Every single route they established goes around Sol, even when it would have been much faster to go straight through." "But why?" asked Jenny, who had just returned from checking the ship's security systems. "What could make such an advanced species afraid of a primitive solar system?" Sam highlighted several translated phrases on his screen. "Look at these references, Captain. They mention something called the Guardians and the Sleeping Sentinels in connection with the third planet, that's Earth. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying there was something on Earth that the Eternals were afraid of? Something that was there before humans evolved? That's exactly what I'm saying, Lisa replied. And according to this data, whatever it was, the Eternals believed it was still there when they created this way station. The implications were staggering. If the ancient Eternals, with their advanced technology and millions of years of experience, had been afraid of something on Earth, what did that mean for humanity? We need to get this information back to Earth immediately, Jake decided. Sam, prepare a data burst transmission with everything we found. Send it on the fastest possible route. 3 days later, the transmission reached Earth and caused immediate chaos in government circles. Director Helen Cross sat in her office at the Extraterrestrial Research Division, reading the report for the 5th time. Helen was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She had been working in alien research for over 20 years, but nothing had prepared her for this. Get me the president on the secure line, she told her assistant, and contact the heads of every major space agency. We need an emergency meeting. Within hours, the most powerful people on Earth were gathered in a secure conference room beneath the Pentagon. President Robert Kim listened carefully as Helen explained what Captain Harrison's team had discovered. So you're telling me that an ancient alien species was afraid of something on our planet? The president asked. Something that might still be here. That's what the evidence suggests, Mr. President, Helen replied. And I think it's time we told you about some things we've been keeping classified. Helen activated a holographic display that showed dozens of files marked with the highest security classifications. For the past 60 years, we've been investigating unusual phenomena around the world, strange energy readings from deep ocean locations, unexplained structures found beneath ancient monuments, anomalous readings from certain geological formations. She brought up images of massive geometric shapes detected deep beneath the ocean floor. These structures are clearly artificial, but they predate human civilization by millions of years. We've always assumed they were natural formations that looked artificial. Now I'm wondering if we were wrong. Secretary of Defense Maria Santos leaned forward in her chair. Are you suggesting there's an ancient civilization living beneath our oceans? It's not living, Helen said. Their technology might still be active. We've detected energy signatures from some of these sites that we can't explain with current science. Meanwhile, news of humanity's discovery was spreading through the galactic communication networks. On dozens of worlds, alien governments were holding emergency meetings of their own. On the planet Kepler Prime, Ambassador Zaravel received the human transmission with growing alarm. The Keplerians were one of the oldest current civilizations in the galaxy, and their records contained references to the mysterious Eternals. Zara was a tall, thin being with silver skin and large, dark eyes. She had been dealing with human diplomatic contacts for several years and had grown to respect their determination and curiosity. Send an immediate response to the humans, she told her communications officer. Tell them we need to arrange an urgent meeting and contact the Centauri Federation. They need to know about this too. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as species after species learned about the human discovery. The reaction was always the same: shock, followed by immediate concern, followed by urgent diplomatic messages. Back on Earth, Helen Cross was reading through classified files that hadn't been opened in decades. The documents told a story of strange discoveries that had been quietly buried by various governments around the world. In 1962, Soviet submarine had detected massive structures on the ocean floor near the Mariana Trench. The structures were geometric and clearly artificial. But when a team was sent to investigate, their equipment malfunctioned and they were forced to return to the surface. The incident was classified and never officially reported. In 1978, ground penetrating radar at Stonehenge had revealed a vast underground complex extending deep into the earth. The British government had immediately restricted access to the site and buried the findings. Similar discoveries had been made at ancient sites around the world, from the pyramids of Giza to Easter Island. In 1995, deep-sea mining operations in the Pacific had uncovered what appeared to be machinery buried beneath millions of years of sediment. The machinery was made from materials that didn't match any known elements. The mining company was quietly bought out by the government, and the site was declared off limits. My God, Helen whispered as she read through file after file. We've been finding evidence of this for decades, and we just kept covering it up. Her secure phone rang. It was a call from the International Space Station. Director Cross, this is Commander Paul Martinez aboard the ISS. We're receiving multiple communication requests from alien vessels. They're asking for permission to enter Earth's solar system. They say it's urgent and relates to recent archaeological discoveries. Helen closed her eyes and took a deep breath. In the span of a few days, humanity had gone from being alone in their solar system to being the center of galactic attention. And apparently, they had been sharing their planet with something else all along. Commander, tell them we'll respond within 24 hours and start monitoring all deep ocean locations for unusual activity. Something tells me we're about to learn a lot more about our planet than we ever wanted to know. As Helen hung up the phone, she looked out her window at the city of Washington spread out below. Somewhere beneath the Earth's surface, in the deepest parts of the ocean, ancient systems that had been dormant for millions of years were beginning to stir. The question was whether they would prove to be friends or enemies to the human race. The galaxy's oldest species had avoided Earth for a reason. Soon humanity would learn what that reason was. Dr. Kevin Wright adjusted his diving suit one final time before stepping into the submersible. The small research vessel was designed to dive deeper than any human had ever gone before, down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, where the old Soviet reports claimed to have found strange structures. Kevin was a marine biologist who had spent his entire career studying the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. He was a tall man with dark hair and calm brown eyes that never seemed to show fear, even when diving into the most dangerous waters on the planet. At 38, he had led more deep-sea expeditions than anyone else in his field. Are you sure about this, Kevin? Asked Dr. Amy Foster, his research partner and the mission's geological specialist. Amy was a small woman with short blonde hair and bright green eyes that always seemed to be analyzing something. She had joined Kevin's team 3 years ago and had quickly proven herself to be one of the best deep-sea researchers in the world. The government is paying us a lot of money to find out what's down there, Kevin replied as he settled into the pilot's seat. And after what they told us about those alien discoveries, I think we need to know what's been hiding in our own oceans. Submersible began its descent into the deepest part of Earth's oceans. As they dropped through the water, the sunlight faded until they were surrounded by complete darkness. Their lights cut through the black water, revealing strange fish and other creatures that lived in the deep. Passing 15,000 feet, Amy reported, checking her instruments. The pressure readings are normal for this depth, they continued, to descend, going deeper than most humans had ever traveled. At 25,000 feet, Kevin began to see something unusual on the sonar display. Amy, look at this, he said, pointing to the screen. There's something big down there, really big. As they approached the ocean floor, their lights began to reveal massive geometric shapes rising from the seafloor. The structures were clearly artificial, made from some kind of dark metal that seemed to absorb their lights rather than reflect them. My God, Amy whispered. Those aren't natural formations. Someone built these things. The structures were enormous, extending for miles along the ocean floor. They appeared to be connected to each other by a network of tunnels and passages. Strange symbols covered their surfaces, similar to the ones Captain Harrison's team had found on the ancient space station. Kevin, I'm detecting energy readings from these structures, Amy said, her voice tight with excitement and fear. Right there. Not just ruins. Something is still active down here. Kevin maneuvered the submersible closer to one of the largest structures. As they approached, panels on the surface began to glow with a soft blue light, similar to the glow the space team had reported from the Eternal Station. It's responding to our presence, Kevin said. Whatever this is, it knows we're here. Suddenly, the water around them began to change. The pressure readings on their instruments started fluctuating wildly, and the temperature increased by several degrees. The submersible systems began to register energy patterns that shouldn't exist at this depth. We need to get out of here, Amy said. But Kevin was already starting the ascent procedures as they rose toward the surface, both scientists remained silent, trying to process what they had seen. The structures beneath the ocean were clearly ancient, but they were also clearly still functional. Whatever had built them had created technology that could survive for millions of years in the deepest, most hostile environment on Earth. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Titaniologist Dr. Tony Mitchell was leading his own expedition to investigate ancient sites on land. Tony was a man in his early 40s with graying hair and weathered hands that showed years of digging in archaeological sites around the world. His team had been given unlimited funding by the government to investigate the foundations. It's beneath some of Earth's most famous ancient monuments. Their first stop was Stonehenge, where ground-penetrating radar had revealed extensive underground structures. "Start the deep scan here," Tony told his team as they set up their equipment near the ancient stone circle. "The government files say there's something big underneath this site." Radar began to penetrate deep into the earth, revealing layers of construction that went far below the known foundations of Stonehenge. As the scan went deeper, Tony could see clearly artificial structures extending hundreds of feet into the ground. "This is incredible," said Dr. Carol Johnson, Tony's assistant. Carol was a young woman with red hair and an enthusiasm for archaeology that reminded Tony of himself when he was starting his career. "These underground chambers are massive. They extend for miles in every direction." The team moved to other ancient sites around the world, finding similar results everywhere they looked. Beneath the pyramids of Giza, they discovered vast underground complexes that dwarfed the pyramids themselves. Under Easter Island, they found networks of tunnels and chambers that extended deep into the earth at each site. The same pattern emerged. The famous ancient monuments that humans had built were constructed on top of much older foundations. These older structures were made from materials that didn't match anything in the archaeological record, and they showed construction techniques that were far beyond what ancient human civilizations should have been capable of. "It's like someone was guiding the construction of these sites," Tony explained to Director Cross over a secure satellite connection. "The ancient humans who built Stonehenge and the pyramids weren't just choosing random locations. They were building on top of something that was already there." Back at the Extraterrestrial Research Division, Helen Cross was coordinating multiple investigations around the world. The evidence was becoming overwhelming. Ancient structures existed beneath Earth's surface, and they were still active after millions of years. The ocean team found active energy sources, she reported to President Kim during their daily briefing. "The land teams are finding evidence of construction guidance at ancient sites. And now we're getting reports from the International Space Station that they're detecting energy signatures from multiple locations around the globe." The president looked tired. The weight of the discoveries was affecting everyone involved in the investigation. "What do we do with this information, Helen? How do we tell the world that our planet has been inhabited by an ancient civilization that we never knew existed?" Before Helen could answer, her secure phone rang. It was Commander Martinez from the International Space Station again. "Director Cross, we have a problem. The alien ships that requested permission to enter our solar system are now demanding an immediate response. They're saying that our archaeological activities are causing some kind of awakening, and they're detecting energy signatures from Earth that are making them very nervous." Helen felt her heart sink. The investigation was not only revealing the existence of ancient technology on Earth, but it was also apparently activating that technology. The question was whether the ancient systems were waking up to help humanity or to defend against them. "Commander, tell the alien ships that we'll meet with them within 48 hours. Set up a diplomatic conference in Earth orbit. Start and start monitoring every ancient site on the planet for increased activity." As Helen hung up the phone, she realized that humanity was about to face the biggest challenge in its history. They had discovered that they were not alone on their own planet. The galaxy's other civilizations were clearly worried about what that meant. The ancient Eternals had avoided Earth for millions of years. Now humanity was about to learn why, and whether they would survive the knowledge. Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Meridian, watching as 3 massive alien ships approached their position near the ancient Eternal Way Station. The ships were unlike anything in human design, sleek and curved with materials that seemed to bend light around them. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. Sam Davis reported from his communications station. "They're requesting permission to board our ship for a diplomatic meeting." Jake had been expecting this moment ever since they discovered the eternal navigation data. The galaxy's major civilizations had been tracking humanity's archaeological discoveries, and now they wanted answers. "Tell them they can send a small delegation," Jake replied. "But make it clear that this is still a human vessel under human command." An hour later, Jake found himself sitting across from 3 alien diplomats. In the ship's main conference room, the first was Ambassador Zara Vel from the Kepler Alliance, a tall being with silver skin and large dark eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. The second was General Kren Voss from the Centauri Federation, a heavily built creature with gray skin and multiple arms that suggested a military background. The third was Dr. Eula Shan from the Orbital Research Consortium, a small being with blue skin and delicate features that reminded Jake of a scholar. "Captain Harrison," Zara began, her voice carrying a musical quality that human translation systems could barely reproduce. "Your species has made a discovery that concerns us greatly. Eternal records you have uncovered suggest that your planet harbors something that even they feared to approach." General Voss leaned forward, his multiple arms moving in patterns that Jake's cultural briefings had told him indicated stress. "Ow. Military sensors are detecting massive energy buildups from your planet's surface. Whatever systems exist there, they are awakening in response to your space exploration activities." Dr. Shan activated a holographic display that showed energy readings from Earth. "These patterns are unlike anything in our scientific databases. The power levels we are detecting could reshape matter at the atomic level. This technology is beyond anything our current civilizations possess." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "What exactly are you asking us to do? Stop exploring our own planet?" "We need to understand what we are dealing with," Zara replied. "If these systems were powerful enough to make the Eternals avoid your world for millions of years, then their activation could affect the stability of this entire region of the galaxy." Back on Earth, the diplomatic pressure was mounting. Ambassador Lisa Chen stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, addressing representatives from every nation on the planet. Lisa was a career diplomat with 20 years of experience in international relations. But nothing had prepared her for negotiating with alien civilizations about ancient technology on Earth. "The alien representatives are not threatening us," Lisa explained to the gathered delegates, "but they are clearly concerned about what we might accidentally activate. They're offering to share their knowledge about the Eternals in exchange for cooperation in studying the Guardian systems." President Kim watched the UN session from the White House Situation Room, surrounded by his top advisors. The pressure to make the right decision was enormous. Whatever choice they made would affect not just America, but all of humanity's future in the galaxy. "What do our scientists think?" the president asked Helen Cross, who was participating in the meeting. Via secure video link. "The evidence is clear, Mr. President," Helen replied. "The Guardian systems are responding to human technological advancement in space exploration. Every time we send out a deep space mission or activate new scanning equipment, the energy readings from the ancient sites increase." She brought up displays showing the correlation between human space activities and Guardian system activation. "It's as if the systems are designed to monitor our technological development and respond accordingly." Dr. Kevin Wright's voice came through the speakers as he joined the conversation from his research vessel in the Pacific. "Mr. President, I can confirm that the ocean structures are becoming more active every day. We're detecting new energy patterns and what appears to be mechanical movement within the deepest structures." "Are they dangerous?" President Kim asked. "We don't know," Kevin replied honestly. "The energy signatures are incredibly powerful, but so far they haven't shown any hostile intent. It's more like they waking up." Meanwhile, Dr. Tony Mitchell was reporting similar findings from ancient sites around the world. The underground structures beneath Stonehenge are showing increased activity. Ground-penetrating radars detecting movement in chambers that have been sealed for millions of years. The same thing is happening at sites in Egypt, Easter Island, and dozens of other locations. The pattern was becoming clear. Guardian systems were not just ancient ruins. They were active technology that had been dormant, waiting for something to trigger their awakening. And that trigger appeared to be humanity's advancement into space. General Patricia Williams, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, raised the question that everyone was thinking. What if these systems decide that humanity is a threat? If they were left behind to prevent primitive species from advancing too quickly? That's exactly what the alien representatives are worried about, Lisa Chen replied from the UN. They've seen what happens when ancient technology is activated. Without proper understanding, some civilizations have been completely destroyed by their own archaeological discoveries. President Kim made his decision. Schedule a meeting with the alien representatives. We'll cooperate with their investigation, but we maintain sovereignty. Over our own planet, I want our best scientists working with them to understand what we're dealing with. Captain Harrison received the orders while still meeting with the alien diplomats. My government has agreed to full cooperation, he told them. What do you need from us? Zara's expression showed what Jake interpreted as relief. We need access to the Guardian systems and permission to study them alongside your scientists. In return, we will share everything we know about the Eternals and their technology. Dr. Sean activated another holographic display. Based on the Eternal records we have studied, the Guardian systems were designed as protectors, not destroyers. But their power levels are such that even their protective actions could have devastating consequences for unprepared civilizations. General Voss added his military perspective. The Eternals were not a warlike species, but they possessed technology that could move planets and reshape star systems. If the Guardians were built by the same civilization that impressed the Eternals, then we are dealing with power beyond current understanding. As the meeting continued, Jake began to understand the true scope of humanity's situation. They were not just the inheritors of an ancient planet. They were the guardians of technology that could either elevate them to become one of the galaxy's great civilizations or destroy them completely. There's something else, Zara said quietly. According to the most ancient records in our archives, the civilization that built the Guardian systems did not disappear. They transcended physical existence, leaving behind only their automated caretakers to protect the worlds they had nurtured. Are you saying that the builders of the Guardian systems are still around? Jake asked. Not in any form we would recognize as life, Dr. Shan replied. But their consciousness may still exist within the Guardian network itself. If that is true, then humanity is about to make contact with the oldest intelligence in the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Humanity had discovered that their planet was protected by ancient systems built by beings who had moved beyond physical existence. Now those systems were awakening, possibly preparing to make contact with the species they had been created to protect. Jake looked out at the stars and wondered what his species was about to become. Dr. Lisa Parker watched in amazement as the ancient Eternal Way Station began to transform before her eyes. The dark blue metal walls were shifting and rearranging themselves, creating new passages and chambers that had not existed moments before. Strange symbols appeared and disappeared on the surfaces, pulsing with energy that seemed almost alive. Captain, something is happening to this station. She called out to Jake Harrison, who was coordinating with the alien diplomats in the main conference room. Jake hurried to the observation deck where Lisa was standing. Through the viewports, he could see that the massive ring-shaped station was expanding, new sections growing outward like a flower blooming in space. The energy readings from their instruments were off the charts. It's responding to something, Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder and concern. The power levels are increasing exponentially, and I'm detecting communication signals being transmitted toward Earth. Sam Davis burst into the room, his portable communication equipment in his hands. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from Earth. The Guardian systems on the planet are all activating simultaneously. The energy signatures are identical to what we're seeing here. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The ancient systems were not just awakening randomly, they were coordinating with each other across vast distances of space. On Earth, Dr. Kevin Wright's submersible was being gently pushed to the surface by forces he could not understand or control. The massive structures on the ocean floor were rising, breaking through millions of years of sediment, as if it were nothing more than dust. "Amy, look at this," Kevin said, pointing to his sonar display. The structures were not just moving upward. They were assembling themselves into new configurations, connecting with each other in patterns that seemed to have been planned millions of years in advance. "Right, Kevin, we need to get to the surface now," Amy said, her voice tight with fear and excitement. "Whatever is happening down there, it's bigger than anything we can handle." As their submersible reached the surface, both scientists could see that the ocean itself was changing. The water was becoming calmer, and there was a strange blue glow emanating from deep beneath the waves. In the distance, they could see similar glows appearing at other locations across the Pacific. Dr. Tony Mitchell was experiencing the same phenomenon at Stonehenge. The ancient stone circle was vibrating with energy, and the ground beneath his feet was warm to the touch. His ground-penetrating radar showed that the underground structures were expanding rapidly, creating new chambers and passages that stretched for miles in every direction. "Tony, you need to see this," called Dr. Carol Johnson from her position. Near the monitoring equipment, I'm detecting similar activity at every ancient site around the world. The pyramids, Easter Island, Machu Picchu, everything is activating at the same time. In Washington, Director Helen Cross was coordinating the global response from her command center. Reports were coming in from every continent as ancient sites that had been dormant for millions of years suddenly came to life. "Mr. President, we have confirmed activation at over 300 sites worldwide," she reported to President Kim. "The energy levels are enormous, but so far there have been no hostile actions. It appears the systems are preparing for something." Ambassador Lisa Chen was in emergency session with representatives from every major nation on Earth. The alien diplomats had joined the meeting via holographic projection, providing real-time analysis of what was happening. "The Guardian systems are not malfunctioning," explained Dr. Yilashan from her ship in orbit. "This activation pattern matches records from the Eternal Archives. The systems are preparing to make contact with your species."
"Oh?"
Zaravel's image shimmered as she spoke from the alien fleet. "Based on our analysis, the Guardian network is designed to activate when a protected species reaches a certain level of technological development. Your space exploration activities have triggered the contact protocols." General Kren Voss added his military perspective. "Our sensors indicate that the Guardian systems are establishing a communication network that spans your entire planet. They are preparing to interface with human technology," as if responding to his words. Every communication device on Earth suddenly received the same signal. Television screens, computer monitors, radio systems, even simple electronic devices began displaying the same pattern of symbols that Captain Harrison's team had found on the Eternal Way Station. Sam Davis, working frantically with his translation. Software began converting the symbols into understandable language. The message was simple, but profound. "We are the Guardians. We've protected this world for 65 million years. The time has come for the protected species to receive their inheritance." The message continued, explaining that the Guardian systems had been monitoring human development since the species first began using tools. They had protected Earth from cosmic threats, guided the development of life, and waited for humanity to reach the point where they could understand and accept their true heritage. "Your species was chosen not for conquest, but for stewardship," the message explained. "The builders of these systems transcended physical existence long ago, but their purpose remains.
"Oh."
You are to become the caretakers of life in this region of the galaxy." Dr. Lisa Parker found herself face-to-face with a holographic projection that appeared in the Eternal Way Station. The figure was humanoid, but clearly not human. Tall and graceful, with features that seemed to shift and change like flowing water. "M. Guardian Prime," the figure said, its voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate directly in Lisa's mind. "I speak for the collective consciousness that oversees the Guardian network. Your species has reached the threshold of readiness." "Readiness for what?" Lisa asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "To inherit the responsibilities that come with advanced consciousness," Guardian Prime replied. "Your planet has been protected and nurtured so that you might one day take on the role of protectors yourselves." The hologram gestured, and the space around them filled with images of Earth's history. Lisa could see the Guardian systems working invisibly throughout human development, deflecting asteroids, moderating climate changes, and subtly influencing the development of life. The builders of our network believed that consciousness was the most precious thing in the universe, Guardian Prime continued. They dedicated their existence to nurturing and protecting developing intelligences. When they transcended physical form, they left us to continue their work. And now you want us to take over that work? Lisa asked. It's not immediately, Guardian. Prime said with what might have been a smile. You have much to learn first, bet. But yes, eventually, your species will join the network of consciousness that protects and nurtures life throughout the galaxy. Back on Earth, President Kim made a decision that would change humanity's future. Standing before a joint session of Congress and representatives from every nation on Earth, he announced humanity's acceptance of the Guardian inheritance. We accept the responsibility of becoming protectors of life, he said, his words being broadcast to every corner of the planet and beyond. We will learn from the Guardians and work with our galactic neighbors to preserve and nurture consciousness wherever it develops. The Guardian systems responded immediately. Around the world, ancient sites began opening their doors to human visitors. The technology that had been hidden for millions of years was finally being shared with the species it had been designed to protect. Captain Hessen stood on the bridge of the Meridian, watching as the Eternal Way Station completed its transformation. The structure now served as a communication hub connecting Earth with Guardian outposts throughout the galaxy. Sam, send a message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them we're ready to begin humanity's new chapter as Galactic Guardians. The message was transmitted. Jake looked out at the stars and realized that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they never had been. The Guardians had been watching and protecting them all along, waiting for the day when humans would be ready to join the ancient mission of preserving life among the stars. The galaxy's oldest species had avoided Earth, not out of fear, but out of respect for the potential they saw in humanity. That potential was finally being realized.